Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Growth Class. I'm Phil Masiello, and today we're getting into the trenches with another founder who put points on the scoreboard. My guest today, Joshua Rystedt from R Creative. Joshua's team specializes in high-stakes industries like architecture, construction, finance, where a slow site, bad campaign just doesn't look bad. It costs real money. So we're going to talk about building trust in complex markets, cutting through the marketing clutter, driving leads when the stakes are the highest. So, Joshua, great to have you on. Thanks for joining us today.
It's great to be here, Phil. Thank you.
Yeah, why don't you take us back? Give us a little bit of background in you and then what you built and why you built it, and then explain your business a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I started as a freelance web developer, was doing that for about a decade, and my wife was a content writer working with the largest publishing house in the world, Penguin Random House, but started to make more money working at night, doing boring web pages, product descriptions for her clients. And she realized a lot of her writing clients needed web work and vice versa. So she turned to me and she said, "We should start a little agency." And I said, "That's dumb. I have a full-time job. I'm not doing that." And 2 weeks later, I quit my job, wrecked my car on the Beltway around Baltimore. But we started the agency. It was originally two laptops side by side, and just combining the web development and the content writing synergy. But we weren't sure what markets to jump into out of the gate, and some of our initial clients were financial advisors, specifically more independent financial advisors, like with LPL Financial. And that got our feet wet in compliance and dealing with compliance requirements. So that really moved our agency very quickly down a direction of working with, let's say, difficult to work with clients where there's compliance regulation, other agencies don't want to touch it. So we started to grow and hire staff, and we just went from there. So we're on year 9 now, coming up on our first decade here next year.
You work with your wife.
I did. I would like to say I still do because I have a home office, but she worked with me as my co-founder for the first, 5 years or so. And she's now retired from the business, works harder than ever raising our kids. She built her content writing service line and the methodology behind it. And so now I love people. So I do mostly sales, team development, and, we let our creative professionals do most of the heavy lifting while we just build the company.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't know if I could. I know a lot of guys that work with their wives. I don't know if I could ever do that.
Well, there's pros and cons to it for sure. Like there are aspects that I actually miss about working with my wife. Like she's her education in business school and her analytical way of thinking are absolutely assets. But then you're also so close to that person. And that's the downside too, because like the personal and the business can get all intertwined, and it's hard to shut down the business conversations. Like before you know it, you're talking business at dinner. You get into bed and you're talking business. It's crazy. Like it's just nuts. I like
Yeah.
the segmentation a little bit more.
Yeah, I like the separation. I think that it would be really difficult for me to work with my wife. She's got a different skill set than I have, and I don't think I'd want that 24/7 sort of work environment in my house. I mean, it was difficult. Like we had, uh, we had offices in Baltimore. We still have one in Detroit, outside of Detroit, and we have one in New York, and we we had one here, and right around COVID, right, everybody was leaving, and we wound up shutting it down, and everybody was working from home, and the kids were home from school, right? So we had 4 kids here, plus my wife was working here, and I was working here, and I found it very. I mean, I loved having everybody close, but I found it very disruptive to because everybody was here, and there was no separation. And I thought that it would be tough for me, I think, to be able to be that close to to my wife every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we were originally working side by side out of the house with the kids around, and I like that I have an office I can go to now. I still work out of my house sometimes, but, the separation, also helps, founder psychology, I think, too. Just, "Okay, I'm at my work desk, it's work time, let's go, let's get that done," and, focus on the family when you're with family.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's great. Um, so who do you help and how do you help them?
Yeah. We primarily help mid-size or regional firms in finance, healthcare, and AEC. That's architecture, engineering, and construction. Um, Especially firms that might say my website doesn't do anything for me, or we only get referral business. Those are ideal clients for us because those industries are ripe for lead generation, especially semi-automated lead generation, and they just haven't been able, either they haven't put the money into it or they've worked with firms that don't know those industries well, right? Like construction has a 681% return on search engine optimization, one of the highest in any market. But many construction firms don't touch it because when they do, they work with some company that knows how to sell widgets using SEO and doesn't know construction, right? So we those are fun companies to work with, especially when you start pulling some results in and they see results they haven't seen before. So yeah.
Yeah, we don't, in our company, we don't deal with like many industrial companies, although we do have a sister business that does B2B automation outreach for businesses. Um, but I will say this, we do have one client in the construction business. And
Interesting. How did that come about?
well, it came about because we through a friend who knew the owner, and it's not a small business. They're actually a huge business, and it came about 8 years ago. And they came to us because they wanted to run ads to get drivers because
Oh,
they have like I forget the number, 200 concrete trucks,
yeah,
and they were short like 60 drivers.
right.
And then they also have a construction company and major construction company, but nobody knew who they were. They're a local company. Everybody thought they were this small little company, and turns out they're huge. And so we started running ads to get drivers, and they were effective. And then they said, okay. And I said, what would make this more effective? And I said, and we'd also be picking up on a trend on social is if we created a social media account about the concrete company and started doing some ASMR concrete pouring, people love it, right? And so we started doing that, and their internal people jumped all over it. They loved having the social media channels. We do on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and everybody loves these videos of concrete pouring. I don't know why, and so that became a thing, and it made the ads better. And then they started to get a good flow of drivers. And once they get drivers, they don't lose them. But they started adding more trucks because the company was growing. And then what happened was they said, "Hey, you know, we um we want to do some advertising for the construction company." And I said, well, the best thing you could do is like, B2B outreach, but and they're like, no, 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 we do that already. What I'm talking about is he want the CEO, the owner of the company wants to see his brand out there. He wants to see people out there.
Okay.
And I said, okay, we can do that. And so I said, look, we're experts at doing connected TV advertising. I don't know how it's going to work. I said, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how it's going to work. I said, it's great for products, but I don't know how it's going to work. And I said, but I can definitely do it down to the zip code. I can show the
Yeah.
ads. And, um, and we started running them. And what I found was that I can pull a list just like you would for B2B outreach. I can pull a list of email addresses of the right people that are going to buy the product. And I can put those into the DSP, the demand side platform, and those people will see the ad on their television sets or their devices, whatever they're watching, because it's connected. and it was unbelievably effective. Then you think about it, you say to yourself, well, how much were you spending? We were spending maybe $10,000 a month, right? But one deal pays for 10 years worth of that.
Yes.
So, so they were like, this is great. What do you think of billboards? And I said, billboards are great for brand recognition. You just have to be careful with it. What do you think about radio? I said, we can develop some radio spots.
Yeah.
What do you think about having our branding on the carousels at the airport? Because when these developers come in that are developing, all these different businesses, all these different buildings, we want them to know who we are. So I said, well, we have a commercial. We can run it there. We started doing that. And I mean, it's hysterical because we actually do more with them than we do with anybody else in terms of channels. We have like, I think, besides we have ads going online, we have ads going
Yeah.
on TV, we have ads going on radio, we have ads going at the airports, we have ads going on billboard, we have ads going everywhere. It's hysterical to me.
Hey, some of these companies, especially in construction, it's a very relationally driven business, and so the loyalty between vendors can be extremely strong when the results are there, right? I think it's so funny you're running ads for like for jobs, because typically that's in the like recruiting space. You'll run ads for jobs, and but the principles are largely the same. You just have to be thinking about your target audience is the job seeker, and the product that you're offering is the job, and they're just the principles apply.
Well, our whole pitch was, if you have a CDL, why go over the road
Mm.
when you could be home for dinner every night because
Yeah,
you're driving a concrete truck? And that worked. And so they were highly effective, and they still are because we still run them. We just changed the amount that we're running, but
sure.
we run ads for the construction side of it as well. And it just cracks me up some of the things that we've done that worked that I was totally surprised for. And I was honest with them and said, I don't know if this is going to work, but
Yeah,
it has worked. Yeah, they do outreach. But you're 100% right, man. When they get a client, they stick to it. But the other thing about them is, they go from basically the northern North Carolina, all up to Philadelphia, west to
okay.
West Virginia now. But they've been expanding it, and they have the two largest cranes in North America.
Like they own them.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. Okay.
and we did a time-lapsed video of them putting the crane up, which we used on social media, which people loved, because
It's
it
a whole
takes like a
production.
day. And then the big question was, like on social media, these discussions that you get. And again, it's all about brand building at this point. It's all about brand recognition. And the discussions that people have when they see that crane is like, how does the guy up there go to the bathroom? And you say, he goes up in the morning. He doesn't come down until the end of his shift. You figure it out. you know, and I will say he comes down with a bucket, but, you know, but it's amazing how, and then the other beauty is like when they're doing the cranes, because they build these massive buildings downtown DC, the University of Maryland, I mean, all over the place.
Yeah,
And they get the guys that are up there, they're working, but they have some downtime, right? They take their lunch break or whatever. And sometimes they're up there at 5 o'clock, and in the fall, the sun's going down, and they get these amazing pictures, just amazing pictures of the landscape, which they send to us. And then we use them on social. And I mean,
sure.
people love it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, the visuals in construction are huge. Sometimes you just get that inkling of, hey, let's try something new, let's try something different, and it just kind of sticks. We had early on in my business when we were really trying to find our way. We had a client in a financial advisor. I want to say they had 5 CFPs at the firm. They had a few, regionally known, and they were trying to get more attention in the regional market. But all these financial advisors do the same thing, right? And sometimes they're all copying the same stinking posts from their
mhm.
same broker dealers or whatever, right? It's all canned content. Um, we had this idea that a lot of people when they go when they're considering, hey, I need a financial advisor, they delay going because there's a little bit of a fear factor. Like, what are they going to think when they see all my finances, right? They're going to, how prepared I am for retirement or not prepared. What questions are they going to ask me? Stuff like that. They don't need to be afraid or nervous, but they are. So we thought, well, let's just film some videos of you guys answering the kind of questions you usually get, like the first time someone comes in for a meeting, right? Like some of those initial questions
Sure.
that everyone asks. And so the financial advisor's like, I don't know how we're going to do on video. We can't follow a script. I was like, that's fine. So we had like a bulleted list, and we were like, we'll make it even easier. We won't interview you. You don't need to sit by yourself. So we put two advisors on two stools facing each other, just talk, almost like podcast
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah.
Just like one ask another a question and answer it. And we took the transcripts from those videos and churned out like blog posts and a whole bunch of stuff. And those did extremely well. We called it Ask an Advisor, right? And it just drove a ton of traffic, reduced bounce rate on the pages, organic leads through the website. And we made sure to just craft it so that we weren't making any guaranteed statements. I mean, these are like entry-level softball questions,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're the kind of things that the customer wants to know. And it allowed us to do something with the financial advisory firm that a lot of their competition wasn't doing,
Yeah.
because they're with a little bit of a freer broker dealer. We were able to get away with it too. It's not like you're working with Edward Jones or something where everything's buttoned up.
Yeah.
And off we went. But you can repurpose that content in a lot of different ways. So
Yeah.
yeah. So sometimes you just need to think outside the box a little bit instead of saying, hey, let me plug it into the equation we're using for everyone else, which, say, sometimes that works. It works for a reason, plug it in. But sometimes you need to think outside the box a little bit, like you were doing.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's tough because like, automated B2B outreach, emails, cold email, that type of stuff, it sort of really stopped working well after COVID. And, you have to be a little bit more creative with it in order to get it to work. And, you could do a lot more on LinkedIn and things like that, but it's really difficult today to do that. I think that the scammers have sort of, killed it. And they've also, I think, killed SMS texting, as a medium, because, everybody's suspect when they get a text now, unless it's from somebody that they know, and nobody wants to click the link in the text. And it's all because of all these, scammers. And, so, you know,
You've scammed, and then I think also we're dealing with, and we see this on the B2B side. I think consumer side sees this just as much, but I think it's a volume problem too. Like you said, like
sure.
after COVID, but with AI making it easier than ever, especially with written content, to just churn out email blasts, churn out social media, like LinkedIn in messages or whatever. Like you can just like slam that funnel with a ton of content. And I think there's a lot of companies that are just not being very strategic with it, and they're just like throwing spaghetti against the wall. And so the buyer, whether you're talking a business or consumer, is just getting inundated with junk. It's like what we all have experienced in email for 20 years is now true of every social media feed, our email, our text message box, our even your voicemail with all the robocalls. Just like the sheer amount of advertising that we get on every medium is so great that I think a lot of buyers are tuning out, and you need to find new ways to get that to interrupt and get that attention, especially bring that unique human element to it so that it stands out. And it's definitely a challenge for us right now.
Well, we're more effective on LinkedIn, and we just have a specialized way of doing it for business to business type stuff. But I agree with you. And the reason is because there's so many shitty people out there that are doing it. And what their methodology is, hey, you have a URL, like it's crunchgrowth.com. Okay, give me 15 versions, go and buy 15 versions of that URL. And we're going to send out, 1,000 emails a month from each one. So we're going to send out 15,000 emails. And my response to that is always, even a blind squirrel is going to get a worm get a nut every once in a while. So, that doesn't do anything. You're basically just becoming a spam company. And so And too many companies bought into it and allowed people to do that. And, we are in the position we're in. So yeah, you have to be a little bit more innovative with how you're going to capture people's attention, not just, not just on the B2B side, but even on the consumer side. And video, I think, works well. Even to a certain extent, social media, using video for business to business works well. Like we've done it effectively for some SaaS products and some other things that we've been able to break through and get,
Yeah.
and get sales out of it.
I'm curious if you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing here with video, especially on like LinkedIn. I'm finding that responsiveness, like likes, interactions, comments on videos, even that are less professional, are way up right now. Like someone films a video from their iPhone, you film a video from your car, whatever, right? People are loving that content because it just seems authentic. So I've been telling clients or contacts like, hey, video is great. Like even if you just film yourself talking about something in your business, you can throw it in a automated caption software, have it spit out some captions, get it up on social media. Like it's not, you could always do better. I'd love to help you do better. You can pay me to do better. But even just doing that goes a long way because it's authentic and it's you talking. And especially if your brand's built around you or it was your idea, like it goes a long way. And it's almost like paradoxical. I feel like as all of this just sheer wall of content we're getting thrown at, I think that these authentic videos, even when the production quality is lower than maybe you could have done, people are responding. So it lowers the barrier to entry to video, I think, for a lot of people.
Well, we came up in the direct response TV and shopping channel TV world, and so we learned how to use video to get the message across pretty quickly in an effective way. And then, as we saw with this change in social media, or this change with video becoming more responsive for selling, what we find is that, yeah, the lower the quality, the better off, the more authentic, because people are they're hesitant. They don't want to do business, especially people under 40. They don't want to do business with, you know, big companies, and big companies tend to overproduce things. Now, if you're doing TV ads or connected TV and all that, you need to have better quality, right? It's got to be 4K. It's got to be, 24 frames per second and all that stuff. So, but on social media, yeah, the more authentic, the better. And we've been, it's been that way for a couple of years, and we do it. I create content almost every day, but the more produced it is, the worse it is. The better it is, the more authentic, and just you talking, about what you did, why you did it. Absolutely, it's so much more effective. But the thing now, and I am totally on board with this, is a lot of brands are, shying away from what we call AI slop, because there's so many AI people out there that are just creating crappy content with AI that's garbage. And look, I love AI. We use it every single day, and it has its place. Data analytics and ideation and stuff like that. Taking mundane tasks and doing it. But when it comes to creating content, you have to be authentic, and people are, consumers shy away from it. Customers shy away from it. Everybody shies away from it. How can you sit there and say that, this is authentic content and this is user-generated content when you're creating that user-generated content using an AI product? It's not authentic. It's not user-generated content. It's you creating it with a what do you call it? So, anyway. So yeah, I think
It turns every 2 out of 3 LinkedIn users into a bot.
yeah. Yeah, and that's you see it on Meta, you see it on LinkedIn, and I think LinkedIn's doing a pretty good job of cleaning up the bots, but not Meta. That Meta's just full of crap. But okay, we're down to like the last minute. So any last parting words about what it is, life, entrepreneurship, anything you want to talk about? If you had to do it all over again, what would you do?
Oh, if I had to do it all over again, I don't know if I would have done it the same way. I bootstrapped my business, man. I had no business starting a business. If someone was to come to me in the exact position I was in 10 years ago and said, sorry about that, and said, "Hey, should I start a business right now?" I would absolutely tell them no, and figure if I tell them no and they still do it, maybe they actually have the guts to make it happen.
Right.
But I I think that I think that the message that I want to share and has been really important for me lately in differentiating my business is don't be afraid to niche down. If you're listening and you're in the B2B space, don't be afraid to niche down, especially if you're a small business or you're just getting into that mid-sized tier. There's a temptation, hey, we help everyone that needs X or what have you, because you don't want to rule out sales to anybody. It might seem like basic business logic to a lot of us, but don't be afraid to make your target market one market, or two markets, three markets, and no more. You do one thing really well, you do two things really well, no more. Um, Look, even though my digital marketing agency, my Martech agency, we can do the full stack of marketing from top of the funnel all the way to a custom web app. And we can, technology is pretty agnostic now, but we serve finance, healthcare, and AEC, and we build integrated automated websites. And by niching down, paradoxically, we end up with better leads, better sales, and better customers, whether in those markets or outside of them. And I think that was a lesson I had to learn really early. I didn't go to business school, unlike my wife. I've had to learn a lot the hard way, and it's been a lot of fun. But I don't think I would do it the same way if I had to start over.
Yeah.
I hope I would do better if I had to start over.
Yeah. There you go.
Do better earlier.
I hear you, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all for today. Big shout out to Joshua for pulling back the curtain on how our creative is doing things differently and actually moving the needle for their clients. So go see what they're up to at ourcreative.marketing. If you're a founder who's ready to stop chasing vanity metrics and actually diagnose, align, and scale your business, you know where to find me. So until next time, keep growing.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.